From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Gulf Coast studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. It's Andre Johnson
Jr.
And not forget the Junior. Very important. Remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get to today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you're watching us on YouTube, you know the drill. Do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification when we drop that.
Fire content.
And also, hi, hello, Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. And you may notice it's another little location.
We all over the place.
We are bouncing around here at the Gulf Coast studios. I kind of like this setup here right now. Doing some work on the other studios, so here we are. Let us know what you think. I kind of like it here.
No wood to knock on, unfortunately.
No wood to knock on, but nonetheless, big day. Not a fun day in the city of New Orleans. I don't know what is going on in sports in this town right now, but just think about this last week.
Yeah.
LSU fired their coach. Tulane, really bad effort Thursday. Pelicans did not do well on Sunday, and then of course your New Orleans Saints fall to the LA Rams 34-10 with Tyler Shough making his debut as Saints QB1. Gonna get into that. Of course, it's what we do on this podcast. But first things first, how are you feeling, Andre? Because I flew, took the red eye home to get here for this Monday afternoon podcast. So I'm running on fumes, but I'm feeling pretty good right now. How about you?
You know, as good as you can as a Louisiana resident with everything you mentioned going on. Not a great time for the Saints, the Pelicans, LSU, Tulane. Southeastern doing a great job. Shout out the Lions, you know. Yeah, went to the dentist this morning and they were like, Andre Johnson Jr., we won't forget the Junior. So that was funny, you know. That's what I'm saying, you know. Shout out Senior for really making sure that I never forgot the Junior. But you know, you were out in LA Sunday, you watched Saints versus Rams, which was really just watching the Rams because the Saints had the 13th worst time of possession in NFL history, having the ball for about 16 minutes, the worst time of possession since 2011. All of that leading towards a blowout to the Rams in Tyler Shough's first start. So we're going to touch on a lot having to do with that game and on the upcoming trade deadline, but we got to start with the big picture, which is the rookie's first start. How would you grade Tyler Shough?
Yeah, let's get into it because we talked a lot about Tyler Shough, and now we can finally talk about the real version of Tyler Shough, not the hypothetical version or something that we saw in training camp or preseason. He's got his first start. First things first, stat of the day. We just found out a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Tyler Shough, with the way the time of possessions was skewed and play count was skewed, actually played 35 snaps against the Rams. Ladies and gentlemen, he played less snaps against the Rams in 4 quarters than he played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a quarter and a half. He had 39 snaps in that game. So this tells you what they were dealing with from an offensive and defensive and just an overall lopsided point of view in that game at SoFi Stadium, which, as I said, I was there. So here is what I will say in favor of Tyler Shough. I just gave you the stat of the day. Those circumstances are tough. But he contributed that a little bit. But I didn't come away watching him thinking he was in over his head.
Right.
And to be honest, that's something you got to watch with every rookie making their first start. Are they in over their head? Because we saw that in years past where a guy is just completely overwhelmed at the moment. That was not Tyler Shough. But nor did I think, yes, they got their guy. That's him. He's the one. After Sunday's performance. Now, he was in the middle, which I think, if we're all being fair, was what we expected, especially against this Rams team on the road. That team was very well rested coming off of a bye. They looked sharp, crisp. They were healthy. They looked ready to go, and they took it to the Saints. I go back to quarterbacks making their first career start for the Saints over the last few years. You've had Shuck, you've had Haener, you've had Rather.
Right.
I'll just read the stats off. Shuck, 15 of 24, 176, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Okay. Jake Haener, when I talk about being overwhelmed and in over your head, that's what I'm referring to. 4 of 10, 49 yards and interception. Spencer Rattler last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 22 of 40, 243, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. If you recall, that was that crazy second quarter where they took the lead and it all fell apart in the second half. So, I think it was pretty standard for a rookie start for Tyler Shough. He didn't come in and be the savior, but at least he showed you some things to make you say, okay, he's got a little something. He didn't look like he didn't belong. So he looked like he belonged. That was a double negative there. He looked like he belonged. Outside of that first quarter where I thought he was a little bit tight, I thought he was fairly comfortable. I thought he settled into the game pretty well. But he obviously did not revive that stagnant offense. That offense that, frankly, is not doing anything well right now. Absolutely nothing is going well for the Saints offense right now, which, based off some of the comments I got from people at me all during the game on social media, that's starting to point at one man, the guy calling the plays. We'll get into that another day. In a lot of ways, though, I thought Shuck was somewhat similar to what Rattler had been giving you. He had some flashes of promise. Arm talent is real.
Yeah.
Go back and watch the fourth quarter. The arm talent is real. Works the second level, that intermediate 11 to 20, outside the numbers really, really well. Throws that deep out really, really well. Deuce and I were talking about that last night. Mostly avoided the big mistake. Did throw the interception on fourth down. He wanted Olave on the right side. Olave had a little jammed up, came back to the left. He was way too late on the throw. It was on fourth down. It was late in the game. A forgivable mistake, but that was the only one he made. He avoided the other big mistakes that sometimes that can happen in a rookie's first start. But like Rattler, he also could not avoid the early hole. Like Rattler, didn't really catch a rhythm until they went no huddle. That was in the second quarter. Also, he was dealing with those unique circumstances, as we mentioned, with 16 minutes of time of possession. What was that? The lowest time of possession since when?
2011.
2011. Okay, that was the year the Saints played the 49ers, folks, in the playoffs. That's how long ago that was. That's when Sproles and Breeze and Jimmy Graham were all here still rolling.
I was still in high school.
A long time ago. He was still in high school. I was here. All right, so how much did he contribute to the time of possession issues? I thought early on he did. It wasn't his fault in the third quarter so much, but early on, those early three straight 3-and-outs, really, because when he was really quick 3-and-out, I think 2 of those 3 drives, the Rams had decent drives where they drove the length of the field and scored touchdowns. So that didn't help the time of possession when it got skewed. That's his part in contributing to that. Also, side note, that first third down completion, the one he throws to Rashid Shaheed on 3rd and 7, he catches it just short of the sticks. He can't convert. Man, if they just make that play right there, that 1 yard, you get a fresh set of downs. Maybe he settles in a little quicker, and maybe things go a little differently. They're not winning. Don't get me wrong. They're not winning, but maybe things go a little bit differently. Routes short of the sticks are driving me nuts. Again, a different topic for a different day. But at least it would have balanced some things out from a play count standpoint. Some of it, though, like the third quarter, he had absolutely no control over. None whatsoever. Not easy to get into a flow when you're on the sideline for basically one whole quarter. And when you add up the length of, final drive of the first half.
Right.
I don't know how many seconds were
13.
left. 13 seconds. The 12-minute halftime. The 10-minute drive, which ain't 10 minutes in real time. It's 10 minutes of NFL play clock time. He was probably close to 40 minutes on the sideline. 30 to 40, 45 minutes on the sideline. For a young player making his first start who finally had caught a rhythm, that's a long time to be put on the sideline. All in all, it wasn't terrible. It was not a terrible debut. Let's just hope he builds on this and that higher ceiling starts to get tapped into a little bit, both from him and, frankly, Kellen Moore. I wanted to come on here and say it was clear that he was an upgrade or a downgrade over Rattler, but after one game, his first game, I find myself saying pretty similar things to what he and Rattler did. I do think you see a little bit from a physical talent standpoint where you look at Tyler Shough and say he can provide the bigger upside, but like I said before, you didn't come away thinking they got their guy. But I'm very curious. Hopefully next week against Carolina, Moore has a better feel for what to call with him in a game. And also, you get more plays than 35 snaps in a game. Yeah. You get more time possession in 16 minutes. Where the other team has 3 whole quarters, you get basically 1. And hopefully, he'll be set up for success a little bit more. But he crossed that first threshold, and he passed the test. What's the grade? I'm going to give him a C. I was a little hard on him last night, but then went back and rewatched and realized just how little he was on the field. I'm going to give him a C. What about you?
It's tough because I really don't think we saw enough Tyler Shough to make a fair assessment because, like you mentioned, 35 snaps. He came into pitch relief against the Bucs and threw 30 passes in a quarter and a half. So it's hard to judge off of 16 minutes. And to break it down, he did start slow. The 3 and outs obviously contributed to the hole that the Saints were in. He attempted 5 passes in the first quarter. He started to heat up in the second quarter. He got it going. When he scrambled out and hit the throw on the run to Chris Olave on the run, that was a great play. The touchdown to Juwan Johnson, that'll work. That's really good. And all of a sudden, the Saints are down 20-10 at halftime in LA against the Rams, and you're thinking, wait a minute now. Maybe, just maybe, obviously winning would be a long stretch, but the Saints are very much in this game. And then from the 13-minute mark the 13-second mark in the second quarter to about the 12-15 mark in the fourth quarter, he attempted 1 pass. 1 pass in a quarter and some change, which was the pass to Juwan Johnson, got tipped at the line. Juwan made a good catch over the middle.
Parameters again, 13-second mark of the second quarter. What mark of the first?
To about 12-15 in the fourth. He attempted 1 pass in real time.
Yeah.
If you include halftime, the entire third quarter, he probably went about an hour real time and attempted 1 pass. And this time it wasn't his fault because Alvin Kamara fumbled and gave the ball back and your defense couldn't get off the field. So I walk away from that game thinking Tyler Shough wasn't great. He wasn't bad. You know, he was his first start on the road against a really good defense. I give him a little bit of grace for that one, you know. So grade-wise, I believe in Spencer Rattler's first game against Arizona, I gave him a C+. I'm going to give Tyler a C+. You probably could have talked me into B- considering everything going on had he not thrown that pick, which I'm not going to be too hard on him on that pick because at the end of the day, you're down 20+. It's 4th down. It's either take the sack or take a chance throwing it to your receiver and give him a chance to catch it. He did that. It got picked off. I'm not going to be a stickler on that one, but at the end of the day, I'm going to give Shuck a C+, but the whole game it left me wanting to see more. So hopefully we see more this coming week against Carolina, a Carolina team that might be tougher than a lot of people expected. So, but yeah, it's hard for me to get a real read on Tyler Shough's performance because we saw so little of him despite seeing him play an entire game.
You know, the snap count thing really did it for me. When I heard Kellen Moore talk about 35 snaps in the game because they gave a few snaps obviously to Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait a second, that seems low because he threw 30 pass attempts the prior week. Let me go check the snaps there. 39 snaps in a quarter and a half versus 35 in 4 quarters. Really, that is something to be skewed. So it does feel like you didn't get the whole picture. And it was a tough set of circumstances. In saying that, I thought, despite basically being cold like that, I thought the fourth quarter where he did some decent work. Now, look, they're playing a little more off covers. They're playing a little more shell. But, you know, I thought there were a couple things that you saw, some couple throws that he made that, frankly, if you're Kellen Moore, you got to tap into that. He's throwing a deep out to Rashid Shaheed. He's throwing a deep out to Chris Olave. He's throwing a deep out to Rashid Shaheed on the other side, all in that 11 to 20 window. And they're getting chunk plays after chunk plays.
And that's what wasn't happening in the offense before.
Happening. So if you can tap into that, I think you need to tap into that if you're Kellen Moore. So, because I felt like the first quarter play calling was a little too constricted, way too many guys running routes in that 0 to 10 right off the line of scrimmage, sort of a lot of congestion in that first level of the field, and you're trying to jam in a slant route on 3rd and 7. Yeah, he catches the ball maybe a little behind him, but I mean, there's a lot of traffic right there, so you can't catch and run. You're not creating a whole lot of space. I thought the first time I think it was the only time he got sacked officially. He probably could have stepped up and reset the play, much like he did on the throw to Olave, much like he did on the throw to Cooks that he overthrew, where he was able to kind of break, contain, reset the play, and the ball just kind of got away from him when he could try to put it up for Brandon Cooks. It was a nice play by him, but just didn't complete the pass. So all in all, given the circumstances, he played okay. But, you know, we spent this time on Friday talking about how we're going to view it, how we're going to look at it, and we understood there was going to be this grace period, but we're also going to look at it in terms of, okay, I'm going to let this guy develop, and I think he's passed that test of developing and not looking like a crazy, but not looking completely like a fish out of water. He looks like he belongs, but now, as the games add up, it's okay, is this guy franchise material? And I think he has a lot of control over that, but also the play call has a lot of control over that. And I think that's something where both guys can hopefully evolve from week 1 to week 2, because the law of averages say you're not going to have a game where you only possess the ball. I mean, you can play terrible and not have a 16-minute time possession window compared to your opponent's, 43 and a half or whatever it is. So incomplete, sure. I think we both agree he passed the test.
C's get degrees is what they say.
There's still a long way to go. And I want to see next week, because look, Carolina is a very interesting 5-win ball club. I don't know if they're good. They win games though, so they're doing things right. They're like the Bears. They're just winning games, but you don't know if they're good or not. But in saying that, I think it's going to be a much more. They don't scare me like the Rams do. Let's put it that
definitely
way.
not.
So I think in that regard, Tyler Shough could be a little more set up for success next week on the road. Which, by the way, your first 2 starts on the road, one in LA, the other an NFC South opponent. That's not the easiest path either. But nonetheless, he's getting quality experience right now.
I think it's interesting watching Carolina, because I was thinking it watching the game, the upset against Green Bay yesterday. Carolina's offense looks like what we thought the Saints offense would look like. At the beginning of the season, when we were talking about what would this offense look like under Kellen Moore, we both said it can't be the quarterback, whether it's Rattler or Shuck, throwing the ball 30 times, 40 times, etc. It's got to be let the ground game lead the way, let the quarterback do just enough, you pound the rock, you control time of possession, you don't fall behind, and you wind up leaving with a win. In the last 3 wins that the Panthers have with Bryce Young, excluding the game where Andy Dalton came in and got blown out by Buffalo, the last 3 games the Panthers have played with Bryce Young, I mean, Bryce Young hasn't had to do much. Yeah. Rico Dowdle, in 3 of these last 4 wins that Carolina has rushed for more game yards than Bryce Young has passed for. Yesterday against Green Bay, the Panthers essentially just played keep away. Yeah. Hey, we're going to run the ball. Yeah, we're going to run the ball, keep it out your hands, and Bryce is going to do just enough, and we're going to have a shot at the end of the game, and we're going to pull it off. That's what I thought the Saints offense would look like, but the Saints running game hasn't been able to get going, so the quarterbacks have had to pass the ball a lot more than probably Kellen Moore would have wanted, which takes us to the next thing we're talking about. A lot of things haven't been going great for the Saints. You've had issues on defense. You've had little injuries up front on the offensive line. Your wide receivers have not taken the step you hoped they would. Your running game has been obsolete over the last month and a half. So with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow, Sean, do the Saints need to be sellers or buyers?
Definitely not buyers. Definitely not buyers. Look, this season is going worse than people thought. Okay.
And people didn't have high expectations.
Look, I mean, you saw a contender on Sunday, and you saw a team that's really needs to start over as an organization. And the best way to start over as an organization is to get valuable draft picks. Because right now you've got maybe a couple guys that you can see you have a future with on this roster, but the guys that you've counted on for a long time, I think they're all showing their age right now. And even if they weren't, you're not winning games. And the best way to get back in it, back to being contender status, back to be a perennial playoff team, is to get as many assets for the future as possible. So that means anyone. Somebody calls you about DeMario Davis, you listen. The loyalty now, this is business, and this is, I'm not even sure, why wouldn't someone like a DeMario even embrace that for a chance to get a ring on the last couple seasons? Somebody calls about Alvin Kamara, absolutely. And Alvin, to me, does not look like the same player. It just feels like Father Time has really caught up. Somebody calls about Taysom, as much as it kills me, that if Denver calls and wants to throw you a 5th-round pick, do it for Taysom. Rashid Shaheed, yes. Chris Olave, yes. Because you need to understand where you are, and this organization has not been in this spot in a really, really long time, and so playing for right now is fine because it's in front of you, but the play, if you want to get back to where you want to be as an organization, is to build for the future. And you build for the future by trading up assets that you know are probably not going to be here much longer past this year anyway, or guys in their prime that can net you high value. To me, that's just as important. So if you're the Saints, should you be sellers? Yes. Whoever they call looking for a player, you pick up the phone and you listen, no doubt about it. Try to get as much value as you can for some of your more attractive assets to other clubs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Saints and their needs, it's all over the roster. The Saints need a running back. The Saints need a playmaking receiver. The Saints need a solid tight end. The Saints could use some interior offensive linemen. We're always talking about the guards every season. You know, Trevor Penning is in the middle of an experiment right now. Eric McCoy has had 2 big injuries in the last 2 seasons. You don't even need me to talk about Cesar Ruiz and how he's been playing these last, few weeks. So they could use some interior offensive linemen. They could use some edge rushers. They could use some linebackers. DeMario's getting old, and Pete Werner never made that jump that we were hoping he would 3 years ago. You could use some DBs. I mean, you might need a quarterback, depending on how these next 2 months go with Tyler Shough. So the Saints have so many needs, and when you look ahead to the draft in April, they've only got 5 picks.
Yeah.
Because you traded, I said it was crazy at the time, your 4th and your 7th rounder for Devon Vele, who has played 30% of the snaps this season and has 5 catches.
Yeah.
Could count the number of catches he has on one hand, despite us giving away a 4th and 7th round pick for Devon Vele. So now in a draft where you need as many picks as you can get because you have as many needs as there are in football, you've already down 2 picks. So if it comes down to people I would move if somebody came calling. I would move Spencer Rattler. I would move Chris Olave. I would move Rashid Shaheed. If somebody was willing to take a risk on his injury history, I'd move Kendre Miller. I'd move Chase Young, who, by the way, is playing excellent since coming back into the lineup. But I would move him for the future of this team. Carl Granderson, Pete Werner, Alante Taylor. I'd like to keep some of the young guys, Brian Brzee, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, Fuaga, and Kelvin Banks. But for the right price, I would move them. Yes, I'd like to see those young guys develop, but if someone's offering a high enough pick, you could change my mind, because at the end of the day, this isn't a team that can be fixed with one big move or even one really good draft class. It's going to be an effort to fill all of those holes.
And you're not going to have even if you do hit your percentages with a 5-player draft class, that even if you hit your percentage of 50%, that's not enough. You need a bigger class. So to me, we talked about that from a numbers standpoint, just over the years, how that's caught up to them. Now, last year, obviously, they had a big class. And hopefully that can be one of the ones that reset the franchise. But you need another one. You need another one. With only 5 draft picks coming up, you need to listen to any and all offers for players like that, or for potential opportunities like that to get certain draft picks. Because like you said, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything really good offensively this year if they cannot figure a way to have some kind of success running the football. It's come to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
Their ability to run the football is simply non-existent right now. That's got a little bit to do with the injury to Kendre Miller. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it's got a lot to do with the fact that, look, we already talked about it. Alvin looks like he lost a step. Taysom certainly looks like he lost a step, even though he had the big 29-yard run yesterday. It felt like up until that point, it's been tough sledding for old number 7. So they've got to figure out something, because honestly, it's crazy that it worked despite the fact they weren't able to run the ball. When you saw the play action game from Tyler Shough, he actually felt a little more comfortable operating that aspect of the game. So, we'll see how they plan to do it. But hopefully they're getting calls right now as we speak, because that trade deadline is Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And hopefully Saints can be a team that can sell off some assets and build for the future, because look, it's 1-8, and the realistic. And look, I just hope there's sometimes you're not sure, but I just hope inside that building is a realization that we're closer to the worst team in the NFL right now than anywhere near where we want to be from a playoff or a contender, or even close to a playoff team right now. This isn't a couple plays go our way.
Yeah.
I mean, Andre, when was the last time they led in a game? This is yet another game.
I get the Giants.
Not lead at any point. So you're not one player away. You're not a few players away. You're not, if we had better injury luck, we'd be better. Which, by the way, you've seen Kubiak with the Seahawks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see him.
Injury stuff really impacted him last year. Man, they looked fantastic with Darnold and those guys out in Seattle. This isn't an injury thing. This is I don't have enough good players. And the good players that I lean on, they're either too old or they're not ready to be primetime guys yet. They just don't have enough big-time players right now. So do whatever you can to get as many big-time players in this building as quickly as possible. It won't happen this year, but it's got to be here in years to come.
Yeah, I mean, if I think back to August when you did your Ranking the Saints countdown, and I think about the top 4, top 5, all of those guys, they were older players. I mean, I think AK was number 1, older player who's underperforming what we expected. Eric McCoy is hurt, 2 injuries in the last 2 years. DeMario Davis still getting it done, but he's an older player. You know, like Chris Olave underperforming what we thought we would see. Taysom Hill was on the list. He was high, I believe, number 7, somewhere up there, underperforming so far. And I realize there are certain players like a Cam Jordan, like an Alvin Kamara, like a Taysom Hill who have ties to this organization. And I'd like to remind people, I love what they've done for this city. I love what they've done for this organization. This isn't taken away from that, but not every legend finishes with their team. Peyton Manning didn't finish in Indianapolis Colt. AP, Adrian Peterson, he didn't finish a Viking. Tom Brady finished in Tampa. Brett Favre nor Aaron Rodgers is going to finish in Green Bay unless Aaron Rodgers shocks the world and goes back there one day. You know, a lot of times the players that become legends with that team don't retire with that team, and that's okay. Right now the Saints need to look at ways to get better. They need to look at ways to get as many picks as they can in the 2026 draft because, like you said, right now there aren't enough good players on this team, and you need to find a way to get more.
It is an interesting fine line that you walk, though, because in the process of doing that, understanding that would make your team, weaker initially in the present. You're still trying to figure out what this young quarterback has.
Exactly.
Are you hurting his development by doing that? There's a balance you got to walk there. And look, make no mistake about it. The Saints, there's some players people will call about you, but you can't. They're not going to trade everybody. These are just the possibilities that other teams could call and ask about. It probably wouldn't. You named all those players. I mean, I'd be shocked if it was more than 2. That they actually, if it came down to it, that they would actually move on. But I do think whatever you can do to better your team for next season to get you back to where you want to be as quickly as possible. Because I can tell you right now, apathy is settling in the fan base right now. They're upset, and now to the point where they're just not caring right now. And that's not a good place to be for a passionate fan base. So stay tuned, more to come. But first things first, or last things last, I got a C for Tyler Shough. You had a what?
I had a C+.
C+. All right, good start. We got to go. Andre Johnson, Jr., Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.